Hello and welcome to the Excel beginners course. So we're going to go through the whole process. So you will have received an email from me and that will have an attachment to it, which will be the Excel beginners workbook. So I'm just going to talk through downloading that. So I'm just going to go to the attachment, click on the download button. That will now download to my computer. And if I go up here, I can see that the file's downloaded. So I'm just going to click on that and the Excel file will now open. If you can't find it in the download button there, it will actually be in your download folder. So if you go to File Explorer, and then you click on Downloads, it will then come up and your file will be in there. So there we are, there's the file there. We first of all need to enable editing. Because this has come from the internet, it says it's got this protected view. Be careful, files from the internet can contain viruses. Unless you need to edit, it's safer to stay in protected view. So that's there for the protection. However, we need to enable editing. So I'm going to enable editing. And then I'm going to save the file for future use. Well, I'm just going to save it. So I'm going to go to File. And because this is the first time I'll have saved it, I'm now going to browse. It's File, Save As, Browse. And I'm going to choose a location. Now, let's have a look. Let's just go to my documents, see what we've got there. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Excel. I'm going to double click and open that. And I'm going to call it W Excel Beginners Task 1. And I'm going to call this version 1. And then what I can do is I can save it as version 2 if I need to. I can save it as version 3. So I'm going to save that. And now it's ready to go. And when we look at the spreadsheet, we can see that we've got, well, this workbook. We can see that the workbook is made up of a number of different sheets. We've got the Hello tab, Welcome, Worksheet, Symbols. We've got a range of different things. If I use this button here, icon, I can scroll left and right. And there's a range of different things that are on there that I can use. If I use my cursor and just click on the Welcome button and then just left click, that will take me to the Welcome page. And then if I left click on back to Hello page, that will there. If I click on this means I left click. I will tell you if I do right click then, because the right click gives up a different menu. And we can see that there's a range of different things on here. I'm not going to spend too much time. We're just going to talk through it. So this workbook, if we look at the welcome, this is Hello, Welcome. It just tells you a little bit, some beginners activities. There's also a video link here that is quite useful. I found that that's all right. And then what we're going to do is going to look at a worksheet. And then here we'll be given an overview of a worksheet and we can see the different things that we're going to be doing. To zoom in and out, I can do this a number of different ways. If I go to this bar here, I can either increase or decrease my view. So as you can see, it's going down now and I'm back to 100%, well, 110, 100% there. And I've got some different things that are there. I can also do that a different way. I can hold down the CTRL key and then use the center scroll button of my wheel of my mouse and then move in and out and zoom in and out that way. So let's just have an overview then of Excel. So we have our worksheet here, but first of all, we're going to do an introduction to the various icons, ribbons and tabs within Excel. So up here, we have a ribbon and that's got various different icons on it and allow you to do different things. So if you've used any Microsoft products before, we can see that we can copy paste here. We can change the fonts, we can change the font colors, we can increase it. We've got different alignment tools here. We can wrap text. We can change the format of the cells from data to currency. And we can do a range of different things here, and that's on the Home tab. We have different tabs. So for example, the Insert tab, that allows me to insert charts. And there'll be lots of these things that we'll not be using, but it's just to give you an overview of them. Let's have a look now at a cell then, or rows and columns. So running vertically that go across the page and are lettered from A all the way up, A, B, C, D. These are columns. So there's our columns, and they go vertically. And then we have rows that run horizontally. So if you imagine a bit like battleships, where these rows and columns intersect, that's where the cell is going to be active and what we're going to be using. So for example, if I click into this cell, F5, that's a cell that's active. I'm just going to increase that a little bit in size. And we know that it's active because it's got a green box around it. And it's also got, in the name box there, it says that I'm in F5. If I use my arrows button to go down, we can see that I'm going to F6, E6. So the cell that's active will have the little green box around it, and it'll be prominent within the name box there. This area here, that's the formula bar, and that allows us to enter our formulas and do different things there. Okay. When we input data, we just click on the cell and then we can either type, so hello, my name is Nigel, and then I just press the tab and we can see. The difficulty is though, it's not got all the information in that one cell, and if I was to now write in this cell G5, if I put Monday, we can see that the information has been removed from this cell F5. Now I can make the column a bit bigger, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to move to the center of the column between the F and the G column and wait for my icon to change there, like that. Left click, and then I can drag the column and make it bigger. I'll just do that again. So I can left click and move it bigger. Or I can double left click, and it will automatically make it bigger that way. So I'm just going to delete that. I can if I wanted to. So I'm just going to delete that. I could actually wrap the text. So this button up here allows me to wrap the text within that cell, and you can see that it's made the row bigger, but it's also wrapped the text so it fits into there. Okay, so that's just one way that you can do it as well. All right. So if I wanted now to name this sheet, so this is called the worksheet, but if I wanted to name it as something, I would just double click on the sheet, and you can see that it's highlighted there, and I can put test. Just click off it and I've named it to test there. I can also change the color of it. So if I right click, a menu comes up, tab color, and I can change the color that way. And you can see that the tab color is now changed, and that might be handy if you've got different functions that you want to be able to do, or different areas that you want to be able to do. If I wanted to insert a column, so between these two, I can go up to this function here, and you will note that there's any icon that's got a downward facing arrow means that there's different menus available for it. So if I just left click there, I can insert a column, and it's inserted a new column for me. Likewise, if I click there, then go to insert, and I can insert rows. I can also right click, and it will insert a column for me that way. So there's different ways that you can do it. Now I'm just going to use the undo button, or you can use that, but I'm just going to press Ctrl and Z. go back and get rid of all that. So there we've got the worksheet there. Okay, let's now look at this one here, symbols. So there's different symbols that we're going to be using. Addition is a plus. So for example, equals A1 plus B2. Subtracting is a minus. Multiplication is a star. And division is a /. Okay. There's a tab here, or there's a worksheet here that's got shortcut keys, so you can have a look at that particular at any time you want, and that gives you just some shortcuts that's quite handy. And then we're now going to look at autofill. Autofill, Excel allows us to autofill the numbers in for us, which makes it very good. So for example, if I put number 1 in here, and let's say that I wanted to put 2, 3, 4, and I can do that way. I can type in 2, I can do 3, I can do 4, but that's labor intensive, and Excel can do that far quicker for us. So I just go into that cell, and I'm going to go to the bottom right hand corner and watch what happens to my cursor. It was going to go to a small cross there. I'm now going to hold the CTRL key down, left click, and then drag that down, and you can see it auto filling in, and I let go and it's auto filled in the numbers there for me. Okay, just go Control and Z. Now if I don't hold the CTRL key down and I go to there, left click, it will just auto fill and put it in as numbers, number 1, which is not what I want. So when you're doing numbers, hold the CTRL key down and then it will put it down for you that way. Alternatively, if I typed in 2 there and 3 there, now if I select them 3 cells, go to the bottom right hand corner, just left click, not hold the CTRL key, it recognizes that it's a string of numbers and will put it in that way. So with numbers you can do a number of different ways. So days of the week, let's put Monday. Okay, and it recognizes there, and you can see it's recognizing the days and it's putting them in there for me. The dates, so today is the 9th of the 9th, 25. And again, if I just left click, so this is auto filling, it's filling in them dates for me. Months, September, October. So it will put them days in for me that way, or the months in for me. It will also do it horizontally as well. So for example, 1 there, CTRL, go across, and there. And we can see now that them columns are quite wide. And if I wanted them all to be the same width, I could just highlight the columns, go into the middle, and when I left click, it will auto widen. It's auto fitted them columns into there. So there's different things that you can do there. So that's autofill, and we're using the fill handle in the bottom right hand corner. We're now going to look at addition and subtraction and multiplication. So I'm only going to do one here. Addition, there's a number of different ways that we can do this, but I'm going to look at the total here and I'm going to say it's the sum of all these here. And how do I go about doing that? Well, all equations, all formulas and functions need to start with the equal sign. So I'm going to type in equals, and we can see that it's come up in that formula bar there. And I'm going to say that this cell B11 equals this cell B5, and I've just left click that, plus B6 plus B7 plus B8 plus B9 plus B10, and I've left it there. I've not put another plus because it won't recognize it. So you can see the formula there. It's saying that this cell equals B5 plus B6 plus B7. Press enter, and you can see that it's come up with a total for me there. So I'm going to let you do the rest. Now we can use the auto sum function, which will make life a lot easier for us. Okay, and the auto sum function is this function here. It's the Greek sign sigma, and it allows us to do auto sum and a range of different sum, average, count the numbers, the maximum, the minimum value. So this one, if I click into cell K11, and then I'm not going to put equal or anything, I'm just going to hit the auto sum function, and it automatically puts in the formula for me. It says this cell equals the sum of open brackets K5 to K10. So this is the range. Press enter, and it comes up with that value for me now, which is very handy. So that's auto sum. So you can use that. So if you want to practice then, let's look at multiplication. So now we're going to multiply, and I suppose the best thing about what happens with Excel is it will automatically now work out values for me. So if I now change that value from 5,000 to 300, press enter, it will automatically sum them up and change the totals for me. And that's the beauty of Excel. Multiplication. So we're now going to multiply this cell, B2, by this cell and get the answer in there. So to do that, I just need to press equals. I click into cell B2. Then I use the asterisk key, which is above the number 8 key. And then this cell, then press enter, and you can see that it's come up with that formula. Now, if I was to change these figures, like that 5, it will automatically change the total for me. So what we're saying is that this cell, and if I click into the formula bar, so this cell equals this cell B2 multiplied by this cell B3. Okay, and if I can use this function here, I can enter there, and it's the same as pressing the enter key. So that's addition. Oh, that's multiplication, sorry. Division is exactly the same as multiplication. It's just you're using a forward slash rather than an asterisk. So for example, it's this equals B2 forward slash B3. Okay. And it comes up with 3. So I'll do it on this cell. So this cell equals 70 or E2 forward slash E3. Press enter and it comes up with that there. There's a worksheet on formulas and function. It just tells you the difference there, so you can have a read of that. Formulas, you can have a go at this at some particular stage. You can see that the answer is there. So if you hover over the answer, it will then bring up a note box and it'll tell you what the formula should look like. So this equals C14 plus C15 plus C16. So you can use that. Likewise, you put in a total in here, and that will add all these together. And you won't be able to use auto sum because they're not in a line, so it's asking you to do different things there. This function here is we're going to look at these functions and we're going to look at the sum, the average, the maximum, and the minimum. Well, here, if I just click into that cell B17, click auto sum, it automatically sums up the ones here, and it does this empty cell as well. So if you want to keep that in, you can do. If you don't want to keep that in, I'm just going to change that to 15, and it's there for me, and then press enter. It comes up with 254. The average function, click into cell D17. I'm now going to click on the downward arrow and then click the average, and you can see that it's changed from the sum, it's now changed to the average of this range. Press enter, 33.6. The maximum, it's now going to look at the maximum value in there, 102, and the minimum value. So we can see that we can do different things. So the maximum minimum value, if I was to change this one to 400, we can see that the maximum value has now changed, and that's helpful when we've got a lot of data. See that we've got pet shop practice, we've got some information here, and then we've got a completed table here, and we're going to go through them, and there's some other ones here. So we're going to look at pet shop practice. We can see that this data is quite dull. We're going to try and make it a lot better. So it's complete the totals. So the totals, really, there's a number of different ways that we can do this. But first of all, I'm going to add grid lines around this. So I'm going to highlight, left click there. I'm going to keep my mouse button down and I'm going to highlight these cells here. Then I'm going to move up to the borders button, left click, and I'm going to add a border all the way around, which makes it a little bit easier. So there's a number of different ways that I can do this. I can go equals this cell plus that cell. So cell E3 equals cell C3 plus that cell, and that will work. Okay. I could use the AutoSum function and it will automatically add them in there for me. Now, Excel is very good for us. It will replicate the formulas and autofill the formulas in for me. If I, again, go to the bottom right-hand corner, let's just make this a little bit bigger. Left click and then drag the formula down. It's now going to carry the formula down. So it's going to say that, well, this cell, B4, equals them. So it's done the hard work for me, which is very handy. Again, if I wanted to do now total up all the males, use AutoSum, and it's saying it's equal to the sum of that range there. Press enter. And again, I can drag the formula across there and it adds them all up for me that way. Or I could drag it further across and I've got that total. So, but there's an easier way to do that than this. Okay. But there's a number of different ways to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these cells. So I've highlighted the data and then the total columns are all empty. And then I'm going to press the Alt equals key and then you'll see it will then fill them in for me automatically. So that's the Alt equals key, and that's quite handy to know. I'm just going to make these columns titles a little bit. I'm going to make them in bold. So I'm going to bold them, maybe give them a different color so that they stand out. Okay. Make the cats and dogs, give them a different color and make them stand out. So you can play around with that however you wanted to. You could make your totals there. So we've used the borders. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make a graph that looks at the totals for the males and females. Okay, for the males and females. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to bother about this column here. I'm just going to highlight the males and females there. Then I'm going to press the CTRL key so that I've got this data highlighted. So you can see I've got the males and females highlighted and then the totals highlighted. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can put, I'm going to insert. I can go to recommended charts, so I can use different ones, and we can see that now it's automatically selected that data. I'm going to use all charts because then it'll give me a color version. There we go. Click on that and then click OK. And it's putting that chart in there for me. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to left click, hold that, and then move it down. If I left click off that chart, you can see that the chart toolbar goes. So to get that back, I can just select the chart, and you can see that the chart design and the chart format comes back, and that'll allow me to do different things. So if I'm just going to click on the title, and I'm now going to put number of male and female animals. Press enter, and then it's come up with that information for me there. Always a good idea to have an axis label. So if I go to add chart element, left click, axis titles, primary vertical, and I'm going to put number of animals. And that comes up with me there. So I've got my legend, I've got my total. If I wanted to, I could add data labels. So at the end, so it's telling me what the totals are there. Different things. You can change the layout of it. So there's a number of different things that you can do. So that gives you an idea of a table. There's the practice one there that's completed, but then there's also one for fruit sales that you can do, and it tells you what you can do there. And then one for meals. Okay, so I want you to have a try at that. Gives you an overview, hopefully, of what we have covered within the lesson. Hope you found that useful. Hopefully not gone too quick, but you can rewind that if you need to at any particular stage. And if you do get any questions, then please drop me a line. Take care. Bye-bye.